Hi, Kate. So, mandatory data breach notification laws have been debated through Parliament for some time now. Late last year, we saw laws being put before Parliament. Ultimately, they didn't get passed simply because they lapsed before the parliamentary sitting ended. We're now seeing them reintroduced, albeit in a slightly modified form. I should add, though, that the fact that it's been knocked back in the most recent bill that's just come forward shouldn't necessarily be an indication that we won't see these laws. The thing to bear in mind is this was a private senator's bill that came forward, and it's very rare that those sorts of bills automatically get passed. So what we're seeing is that there's a few things that need to be worked through in the laws. There's a couple of key issues from various stakeholders that are being wanted to be looked at and consulted with in a little bit more detail. So I suppose on one hand, we've got the IT security industry, which is seeking laws of this nature in many ways because it encourages investment in proper IT security systems and practices. And on the other hand, I suppose we have general industry, which is saying that they're already grappling with these complex laws that were introduced by the amendment to the Privacy Act in early March this year. They're already still trying to play catch up with those. Do we really want to introduce further complicated regulation at this time? And is it sort of appropriate to regulate the ability in which organisations choose to actually give disclosure of a breach? Should we, leave that to certain discretionary factors within an organisation as part of its governance?
Well, if we do see these laws, and we probably are likely to in the future, where does this leave companies now? Do you think that they should be putting policies in place and really opting to disclose any data breaches when they do occur?
I think it is definitely right that if I were to weigh things up, I think we will see laws of this nature coming into effect. We may see them in a slightly different form, but I think the fact that various members within both sides of the government have indicated some form of partisan support for this, I think we will see them. As to whether organisations should be taking steps right now to comply with the laws, I think that's a definite yes, and there's a few reasons for that. So I suppose first and foremost, these new proposed laws govern the obligation to actually notify of a serious data breach. And when we're talking about a serious data breach under the current proposed bill anyway, we're talking about things which have a real risk of financial harm or reputational harm. So they're governing the obligation to actually give notice to the regulator or affected persons. Now, under the law as it stands right now, there's already requirements under APP 1.2 to embed proper informational security systems into an organisation's information systems and practices and procedures. And also in APP 11, there's an obligation to take all reasonable steps to ensure that personal information isn't subject to unauthorised access, disclosures or use. So if we're taking these steps right now, we're complying with the law as it is right now, and if these new laws do come into operation effect, then it's going to make it all the more easy to comply at that point in time.
Well, Hayden, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kate.